Hi everyone.
Hello, welcome back to Did You See That?
My name is Nakolo,
And I'm Bonolo.
and we are just two South African girlies who decided to take our reviews out of the group chat and into the world of social media to share with you.
100%. So, what we'll be reviewing today is a show called Missing You.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Netflix. It
Recently just came out.
Exactly. And so, Missing You follows a detective called Kate Donavan, I believe. She's this detective who is essentially trying to solve the murder of her father, but also trying to solve another criminal case where there is a man who is a dog breeder or fronts to be a dog breeder, but then we later find out that he actually owns a farm, and what he's trying to do is he kidnaps people and then tries to swindle them for money. So that's the main plot of the show.
Well, I would say that is our analysis of the plot.
That's our analysis of the actual plot.
Of the plot.
Yeah.
But Netflix presented it in a bit of a different way. So
Yeah.
how Netflix presented it was that, well, it's called Missing You. And so as you'll see in the trailer, it focuses specifically on the fact that Kate was engaged to a man
named
Josh.
Yeah.
Who then ghosts her for 11 years.
Yeah.
But then resurfaces. And so it's meant, judging from the trailer, meant to focus on the mystery of that and why he disappeared for 11 years. But upon reflection, we have just come to the conclusion that that didn't feel like the focus of it.
Yeah.
A huge part of the storyline was Kate's dad and his murder and her trying to solve for him. Josh actually feels like an afterthought.
Josh is by the way, kind of situation.
Yes.
Because when you walk into the series, you essentially think, like you're saying, that you're going to watch a story about, oh, why did this person ghost this person for 11 years? But then you later get to see that, like, actually, that's another storyline on the storyline that they try to, like, intersect and stuff. And I think some of the things that you were saying in terms of reflection is that it's really one of those writing styles where they're trying to have parallel storylines happening at the same time and trying to make it such that the characters are somehow interlinked in some way.
And also that the parallel storylines connect to a bigger picture. Like it's almost like a web of stories, and like there's one grand story that we're supposed to understand,
and that didn't happen,
and we just
or rather we don't think that there was a grand story that all of those storylines fit into. And also the connections I feel from each of the storylines were just not strong enough 100%.
to form that bigger picture. I think where I kind of saw it was specifically the story about Josh having ghosted Kate for 11 years. And then how this rich man that she also happens to, it's another like, oh, by the way, stumbles upon, who's swindling people for money, is using Josh's profile to catfish people and swindle them for money. I kind of just expected something along the lines of Josh was either working for this man or was trying to conceal something bigger out of trying to protect Kate.
Well, he was trying to conceal something bigger, just not
in that storyline. Not in that storyline though. That story, that's why I'm like, the connection was a bit loose, that it just ended at, we're just using these profiles. And it just so happened that Josh is one of the profiles. So I kind of struggled with that.
I agree. I also struggled with that. And I just think, like, there was just a lot going on. You have the storyline of this detective who's trying to solve for a murder, but then she's also been ghosted. But then she's also solving for this particular case where there's a rich man who's swindling people for money.
Could have been stories on their own.
100%. And I think that's what we And look, there've been other shows where that has worked, or that style has worked.
Yes.
It eventually all comes together. This is not that show. Because I also think that, like, in terms of understanding what each character's objective is, it's very difficult to understand, like, from the white man who has a farm and is posting as a dog breeder, and he's swindling people for money. He swindles people for money. We don't know what for. What is the cause?
That was left incomplete, actually.
Yeah, that was incomplete. We find out that Josh actually ghosted her because turns out Josh is the one that accidentally killed her father, and
also that was quite an anti. It was just such an anticlimax because we are led to thinking throughout the story that someone in the police force
is the one that
killed her dad.
Yeah.
And that would have been a much better storyline.
And just more believable.
And also just more logical. This didn't feel well thought out. It's just, okay, we find out that your dad actually was working undercover against the police force. He was, being used by some rich billionaire guy.
Who we also don't understand
what his connection is,
why,
and what he does, and then we're thinking that the person who killed him is his colleague, for specific reasons, unbeknownst to us, and then somehow it ends up being Kate's boyfriend.
Yeah, it ends up being Kate's boyfriend who actually kills the thing, and how that comes about is because one of Kate's friends sees that Kate's dad is actually gay, and so this is a secret that he's been concealing from Kate and her mom. And so one day she's going to the club, she sees the dad with the lover. He gets spooked out, he chases her home, they get to the house. This girl is telling him, listen, you have to confess to Kate that this is who you actually are. And then he gets spooked out by that. Eventually he attacks her, and in the whole attacking or whatever, that's when Josh gets to the apartment. There's a bit of ruffling and all of that stuff, and then Josh accidentally stabs Kate's dad. So it's we sat through 5 45-minute episodes to get to that. So in a nutshell, that's what the story is about. That is our review of it. Personally, in terms of how I would rate the show out of 10, I would give it a 5. I just think that a lot of things were not necessarily thought through. I think the story wasn't strong enough. I think there were elements of it that were good. I enjoyed the whole element of actually finding out who, or rather the idea of finding out who a person is after they pass, I think is something that a lot of us have probably had experiences with, and just navigating how to still grieve somebody who you can't necessarily get answers from. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and just learning who a person is, even though you don't have the ability to engage them on that. So I enjoyed that, but I think that there were elements of good things happening, but they just didn't come together, and they weren't cohesive.
Agreed.
So I'd give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I would give it a 5 as well. Like I said, I just felt watching that series that it could have been 3 different stories. It could have been a story about Josh having ghosted Kate,
100%.
A story about a rich man who uses online dating sites to catfish and swindle rich people out of their money, and us understanding the backstory, around that. And then a story about Kate's dad and solving his murder and why he was murdered in the police force, and uncovering all of these truths about him post his death. And again, I just didn't feel that the connections to each of these 3 parallel stories were strong enough for it to have been featured into one series.
100%.
So that's kind of what I struggled with. And also that just kind of felt that, the main plot of the storyline wasn't the main.
Don't advertise something as it being a story about a man ghosting his fiancé for 11 years, because of course you're gonna have us hooked, and then the next thing when we watch it,
he gonna be the side storyline.
He's not even the main storyline. And remember, I sent it to you because I was like, we have to watch this because I have experience with being ghosted. Do you understand? I was ready to journey, and then
so
Yeah. Would you recommend the show? That is a no. That brings us to the end of this episode.
I mean, I wouldn't not recommend it.
Okay, fair.
It would be interesting to hear other people's perspectives.
What do you mean you wouldn't not recommend it?
I would.
Are you just like, watch it, if you die, you die kind of thing? Like if it's a time waster, Hari. It's a genuine question.
I have thoughts. I just don't want to answer them.
Share the thoughts, friend.
It's not something that I think on a random Saturday where it's raining and I have nothing to do, that it would be my go-to.
As in, you would recommend it for that reason, when it's raining and you don't have anything to do?
No, I would not recommend it.
Even when you don't have anything to do?
No. I mean, you can watch it, but you're not leaving a better person. I'm struggling to say yes.
Fair.
I'm struggling to say yes for the reasons that I've mentioned. I just think that if you were looking for something to watch on Netflix, that like on a random rainy day, it's not something that I would necessarily be excited to sit through.
Okay, now that you know what it's about.
Now that I know what it's about.
Fair. Okay, I think that's fair. Look, I think shows are going to be a hit or miss. I think for me, this one was a miss in this instance, for the reasons that I've mentioned. And would I recommend it? Look, if you don't have anything else to do, you're struggling to find something, I will say
just
that
to kill time.
Yeah, and I will say that every time it said next episode, I was eager to see the next episode.
You were?
Yeah, like I wanted to see, okay, where's this going? Like,
fair.
You know what I mean? And I think there's something to that, you know. But yeah, if you're looking for story and good writing and a thinker and to escape and all of these things, I don't think it's that the show for that.
What if you were like clicking on the next episode because of Stockholm Syndrome?
Not Stockholm, and also because you want to finish what you started. But look, I think there were elements of that, but I genuinely wanted to see like, where's this going? Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah,
great.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes. Did You See That Pod on YouTube? Follow us on our TikTok as well. And let us know what other shows you'd like us to recommend or to review. And also let us know if you've seen the show, what your thoughts were.
Awesome.
Cheers, everyone.